Oral questions.
Question orale, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After 8 years of this Prime Minister and his anti-building and inflationary policies, housing costs have doubled. In Quebec, in 1 year, average rent increased by 19%. In some regions, it went up by 44%. In Vancouver, in British Columbia, about 100,000 people could be on the streets because of rent increases. Will the Prime Minister finally inverse his anti-building and inflationist policies that have caused this housing crisis? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. If the Leader of the Opposition were to take this subject seriously, then he would have supported our measures. Our plan seeks to work with municipalities by investing $4 billion, for example, to accelerate approvals for home building, to create 100,000 new homing units, bridging infrastructure investments in housing, helping Canadians to save in order to buy their first house, offering assistance to first home buyers. We continue to be there to help housing. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
No, you don't.
Takes 25 years for the average Torontonian to save up for the average down payment on a house. Used to be you could pay off the mortgage in 25 years. Now that's what it takes just to get a down payment after this Prime Minister's anti-construction inflationary policies have doubled the cost of housing. He's done this with deficits that drive up interest rates and drive down salaries, and with funding bureaucracies that block home construction. Will he reverse the policies that caused the housing crisis so that Canadians can put roof overhead?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we had one of the strongest recoveries after the pandemic of all our peer countries, including seeing the creation of about 900,000 new jobs across the country as compared to before the pandemic. Our investments in supporting Canadians have made a real difference and have created growth in the economy. At the same time, we've continued to step up to support families in the construction of new homes, in working collaboratively with municipalities to improve densification, to accelerate zoning changes and permitting, to work to build more housing. The Conservative leader chooses to pick fights with municipalities. We're going to work collaboratively to get housing.
The Honourable Opposition.
How's that going for you?
Speaker, he tells Canadians they've never had it so good, but in reality, housing costs have actually doubled under his leadership. In fact, they're among the worst in the world. Vancouver is now the third most overpriced market, and Toronto the 10th. Both are worse than New York City, London, England, and even Singapore, a tiny island. In fact, the average house cost is almost double in Canada than it is in the States, where they have 10 times the people to house on a smaller landmass. His anti-construction inflationary policies are not working. Will he reverse them so that Canadians can get a roof overhead?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Would be nice if it was affordable.
Speaker, we all recognize across this House floor that Canadians are struggling with the cost of housing. The Conservative solution is to cut the programs that are supporting Canadian families, cut the programs.
They're not working, though.
Municipalities invest in accelerating housing, cut the programs that help Canadians save up for a first down payment, cut the programs that are delivering housing solutions.
Oh, he's already stuttering.
Recognize there is more to do, but it doesn't start by cutting the existing programs helping Canadians. We're going to continue to work in partnership with municipalities and help Canadians through these difficult times.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
His $80 billion of programs are not working. They have led to a doubling in the cost of an average down payment, double the necessary monthly mortgage payment, and a 120% increase in the average rent. This is way out of line with what is happening in other countries. Meanwhile, he continues to drive up interest rates on mortgages with his deficits and give money to local bureaucracies to block home building. Will he get off the backs and out of the way of Canadians so that they can finally afford a home?
Yep.
Right Honourable Prime.
Got to make housing more affordable, especially with 40 million population.
Only would the Conservative leader cut programs that are helping Canadians in what is, yes, a difficult housing market, but he's choosing to pick fights with municipalities when we should be working with them, as we are doing, to increase densification, to accelerate permitting, to change...
Accelerate permitting.
That we're infrastructure investments.
Oh, Pierre's going to rip into that one.
Making record numbers. 2, concentrations of housing and increasing housing stock. We know we need to continue to deliver more housing supply, and we're working with municipalities and provinces to do just.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he can say all the right things, but he doesn't get anything done. I'll give you a perfect example.
Yep.
I know that he's trying to plagiarize my message on housing.
Oh!
The reality is, he's $1 billion housing
Sorry for yelling.
accelerator fund that has decelerated home building. Home building is actually down 19%. Versus what it was before he brought in this acceleration program. Right. So instead of just spending money irresponsibly, why won't he tie dollars to houses that are actually complete?
Wow.
The right honourable.
Good job, Pierre. That was really well spoken.
Mr. Speaker, I'll certainly accept the compliment that we're saying all the right things, and I'll add to it because we are doing the right things, Mr. Speaker. As we step up,
Nah, that wasn't very good.
tax savings, tax-free account, as we work with municipalities to deliver on accelerated housing construction in partnership and the kinds of ways that we get things done, instead of picking fights like the conservative conservative leader continues.
Conservative government.
On helping.
Oh, he choked again. He choked again.
The Honourable Member for Bailey-Chambly.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Northern Quebec is still tackling serious forest fires. The same is true elsewhere in Canada. There are some companies that are suffering. Big companies have the capacity to weather the storm, but small and medium-sized companies are hurting and might have to go bankrupt. We've made proposals to help these companies. I would like to hear if the Prime Minister is ready to sit with us rapidly and to sit with industry in order to rapidly implement urgent programs. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we stand in solidarity with those in Canada and Quebec who have been affected by fires. Safety is our priority. That is why we immediately responded to Quebec's call for aid. We will continue to work together with provinces and territories throughout this difficult period until we come back in September, and we will continue to support forestry sector workers in Quebec and Canada and other sectors that have been affected by forest fires. Through Budget 2023, we've implemented measures with substantive...
What a failure of a budget.
...important investments. Given how little time we have left, I would have to ask the Prime Minister to be a bit more precise. Businesses, and therefore many workers, have a very short-term, acute error problem that may lead to bankruptcies. Measures have to be quick. To facilitate the process, we took inspiration from measures implemented for SMEs during the pandemic. The model already exists. It could be applied rapidly because the summer isn't over and the situation is serious. Could we act together and now? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, we reacted to a pan-Canadian crisis with pan-Canadian tools. In this situation, these are companies in a number of provinces that have been affected, and that is exactly why we are working with the provinces in question. The Quebec government knows full well that Canada will be here as a partner, including through our assistance programs for disasters that they will be able to use. We will be there and we will work with the government of Quebec.
They're not doing a good job of working with other provincial governments.